It's not unique for churches to require the people getting married within their church or with their pastors to have the counseling that you guys provide, right? I mean, that's
Right.
fairly standard operating procedure now?
Pretty standard. I know it's a policy of our church to have like 7-8 sessions with a couple before they actually enter into marriage. Some of those things are finding out how they're doing with Jesus is the most important, because with God the center of your relationship, that's a good place to be in going into your marriage. And so we focus on finding out how they're doing with Jesus, as well as we want to get them some tools to go into their married life with that'll help them out throughout their whole marriage. And
You're dealing with two people now,
yes.
and two people's relationship with Jesus may be totally different, even though they feel as though this is the relationship that's going to take them through the rest of their life.
Yes.
Is that does that cause problems in that process a little bit sometimes?
Well, we find that I ask some specific questions of each of the people in the marriage process in regards to their personal relationship with Jesus Christ before we actually go into what that might look like as a couple going into marriage. And God's pretty specific about what marriage should look like, and we focus on some of those thoughts as we go through the marriage counseling. So I want to make sure that they have a personal relationship as individuals, and then what that might look like as a couple going into marriage. So.
Are most couples receptive to this pre-marriage counseling?
Most of the couples that I have met with are. We're living in a different culture today, where some of the younger age people coming into marriage counseling, they're living together before they're getting married, and those are some of the things that we address during marriage counseling. And that, with Christ the center of your relationship, that would not be an appropriate way to go into your marriage. Is to have a separation process at that point and focus on building your relationship as a team for Christ, and that would build your trust level.
So are you saying that if two people have lived together, they decide to get married,
Yes.
still members of your church,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
you're going to actually say, get apart
Yes.
before you make this union?
That would be in my first session with them. I would suggest that, let's make some living changes here. This would be honoring not only to each other but to God. And it's very important to stay pure until you're married. That's a beautiful package to unpackage on your wedding night. But God is pretty specific about the hint of sexual immorality and what He says in His Word. That even the hint, He's trying to help us remove ourselves from that, so that people see us as wholehearted followers of Jesus. So
that's kind of a damage done. We've got to back up a little bit process for them, right?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's damage done, but it's something that they need to be aware of. We're supposed to live in the world, but not of the world. And as followers of Jesus Christ, we need to take every measure to display Christ in our actions before we're married and then after we're married.
Wedding is a big event for these couples.
Yeah.
Planning it is hard.
Yeah.
And it's there's a lot of pressure, a lot of planning.
Oh, yeah.
Then there's a honeymoon.
Yeah.
It's all done.
Yes.
We are finding that some people are surprised at what life is like, and,
Sure.
and they're disappointed.
Yeah.
Do you notice that?
Well, in the years that I've been doing this marriage counseling with folks, I've found that some of the tools that we put into their toolbox going into marriage has helped them in recognizing some of the things that they're going to be working on through their whole lives. And marriage is a process. It's a team effort, and it's also something that you have to work on. And as we give them some tools and exercises in these sessions that we have with them, it helps them to realize that, I got a great tool here now to work on some conflict resolution. We help them set up a budget plan, before they go in, and help them recognize some family goals, some personal goals. These are all important to support each other in, as well as, what are your goals together as a couple. We talk about some of their strength and their growth areas, and helping them recognize those areas early on in their premarital counseling has really been a benefit going into their marriage process. So.
for some people,
Yeah.
do they find they need some more tools, or does it just not work the way they want it to?
You know, I have had just a few people give me a call back after they've been married and they're still working through things, and that's one thing that I always tell a couple when they come in. First visit, you know, make Jesus the center of your relationship. And I am into weddings, and wedding planning is huge. It's important. It's a fun day, but it is a one-day event. And I am into weddings, but I'm more into your marriage. And what I tell them is, you know what, this is for life with me, as well as this is a life commitment that you're making together. And I'm going to come alongside you whatever time in your process of marriage, so I'm always available. And I've had people call me back 2-3 years down the road and say, John, we're working through this. Can we meet and talk? And it's been great because they feel the freedom through the counseling process to give me a call back.
They can get a little refresher course.
A refresher course, and it's important for us all. I mean, you know, you've been married for many years. I've been married for 23, married my best friend. And we're always working on things. And the one thing that I find in marriage counseling, and I tell the couple this, is, you know what, this is a blessing for me as much of a blessing for you, because I am recognizing things that I'm continuing to work on in my marriage, and so I thank them.
Yeah, teaching always allows you to re-examine and help yourself at it.
Exactly.
So you mentioned, obviously, in a church, that the Christian relationship, the relationship with Christ, is centered to what you guys are working on.
Yes.
Other than that, can you list for me maybe the couple things you think it's important for people to do before they're getting married, so that they're ready for what happens after the ceremony?
Okay. So the things that they need to do is really work on their communication skills. Communication is everything, and being assertive and listening well. It's very important, because a lot of times, you know, we will be assertive, but then when it comes to listening, that comes back to haunt us a little bit. So
Goes both ways.
and that's something that I'm continuously working on too in my marriage. So another thing is recognizing some of the family history that you're bringing into the marriage. You know, there are things that you may want to leave out of your marriage from your family history, how you grew up, and you'll say, there's some of these things that I want to bring into my marriage. So discussing and figuring out those things you want to leave out, and the things that you want to start new and fresh, as well as things you want to bring into your marriage from your family history.
True, both ways, right?
Yeah, yeah.